learning to communicate properly. Communication is a social habit and it's a social skill that we learn from observing others in the environment. If someone's not there, we can't learn the skill from them because we can't observe them practicing it. So if we don't see somebody making a mistake and dealing with the mistake to solve the mistake, and as an adult should do, then we, as children, don't know what to do. And there's a lot of lost opportunity in that space. That which is most important to us is what we naturally put in first place. And although work provides us with money, we all know that if we get sick, our colleagues are not going to take care of us. They're not going to pay for our funeral. They're not going to bury us when we die. And that means that it's a mistake to put work in first place. Now that's not a very objective statement from my side. It's how I view things. Of course there are periods of time when we've got to reorganize everything. Okay, right. In my life, I'm going through that at this moment in time, reorganizing a lot of things. And it's a complex process, but the end point is as soon as possible bringing everyone together. That's the aim. It's hard to have a positive outlook when the future doesn't have a certain point of togetherness there. If you can't say, well, okay, it's going to be 3 months or 6 months, and then we will bring everything together, and we'll be working together, and we'll be living together. If you don't know, then it's endless. It might be forever, and that's heartbreaking because he's wrong. And this, however much we try to look on the bright side, the invisible is always more powerful than the visible. It's not who's in the photograph, it's who's not in the photograph. That's far more powerful. And so there's, in the family picture, there's an awkward and confusing negative space which affects everything that happens, and specifically communication between people. And over long periods of time, it's going to have side effects. Everything that we do has a side effect on something else. There's the main thing that we do, and then there's the other things that happen as a result of what we do. I'll give an example. So you cook dinner, but cooking dinner means going shopping and buying food and preparing things and cleaning up afterwards and putting everything back in place and creating order after everything is done, and it's a whole process of things. And it's a thought that if Father's not at home to please, we all like to please our parents. It's just something that's inbuilt into us. To make our parents happy is something that makes us human, and not an animal. It's not like, right, let my parents bring me up and then I eat them or something. I don't know. Like the animal world would have some vicious and horrible result. So what makes us human is these bonds between each other, these connections. And so if there are communication problems, what son does not like to impress his father? But I mean, it's sort of not over the phone, right? You need the father figure to kind of be there, not only just to be the father figure, but to see your father going through all of the things, the good times, the bad times, the all of the broad spectrum of emotional experiences, so that we learn how to deal with them. There's a reason why single parent families produce single parent families. There's a reason why that happens. Because there's no model to copy in the environment. So we don't know how to act a lot of the time. And it helps having another pair of eyes. It helps not having to worry about something. You come home from work stressed, and it's just like, I need to go to the gym, or I need to go to the pool and swim. Can you look after the kids for a couple of hours while I just take this little bit of time for myself and go and do something? Yeah, sure, no problem, right? If you don't have that release, it's complicated, and these pressures are the invisible parts of relationships, the things that we don't see. It's not what he does, it's what he doesn't do. It's not when he's there, it's when he's not there. And wherever the negative is greater than the positive, you're building a negative experience. And so that's going to have an effect on the relationships. That's going to have an effect on the children, and that might at key points cause your son to go, whatever, I don't care, because he's not here. And you can't argue against it, and you can't fight against it, because it's right, because he's right. He's not here. So it's going to be hard. There's also things that we don't understand about human biology. There's the physical contact element and the physical space element, and how human DNA transmits between people, and how we get used to certain biological environments. One of those is that if young girls don't spend a large amount of time in physical contact, like babies spend a large amount of time in physical contact with the father, then they don't become accustomed to male hormones being in their environment, and they have a problem psychologically relating to people when they're 18 to 25, because of what happens when they're 0 to 6 months. And these are invisible things. It's not a big problem, but the present problems always come from past actions, or what is more harder to see, past inactions. How can you see things that didn't happen? It's really difficult. You complain about things that didn't happen. It's really difficult, but still really important to realize. I have a lot more brutal things that I could say about that, but I'm not going to say any of those things. Action plans. Okay. You talked about force. You didn't use the word force, but things that he must do, or putting pressure on your son to do things. And you said that you obviously you said it's not a good idea. You don't want to do it because it's not the right way. And there's force versus agreement. And agreement is the basis of contract, and contract is really important in all human relationships, because your contract is your promise to do what you say you're going to do. And I think it's always important to have agreements that people are going to do things, and it's also okay to make mistakes.